So today I'm going to be installing Tannus inserts for the 26 by 4 inch Kenda tire. I'm going to go through the basic steps and show you how I do it. I did one already, it didn't seem too bad. So here we go. First thing I do is I make sure that the rotor is up. As I mess around with this thing on the bench, I don't want to bend the rotor because I don't want to get any kind of wobble in it for the brake system. And first step is to take the air out of the tire. Now you're going to want to get as much air as possible out of your tube. Make sure the beads are all broken all the way around. I'm just using an Allen wrench to push down the stem, which allows the air to escape. Again, make sure you get as much as you can out. I've got all the air out. What I'm going to do is I have this little basically bead wrench that bead bar I think they're called. They're for bicycles. I picked them up, they're cheap, you can get them anywhere. I just want to reach in here and pull the bead over the rim, get my fingers in there, and then you can just work yourself around. If you need to, you put your bead wrench in there and just pull it up. And you get that first bead completely let loose off of the rim. Once that's done, you want to push the stem in and pull that tube out. Now at this point I want to take and get a little bit more air out. That's a little bit more air than I want to put back in. So I want it about this floppy and I'm putting it back in, so that's good. Now I did talk to Tannus Inserts or Tannus company today for the support number, and they said that you can use for the 4-inch tires, you can use the existing inner tube, and more than likely you're not going to have to cut down the insert itself. On the video where it shows to cut down, there's a line on the inserts. On the larger inserts for the 4-inch tires, you won't find that. So what she told me is if you do feel like you need to trim it down, just take a 1/4 inch off both left and right sides. But when I did the first one, I didn't need to do that at all, so I think I'm good the way it is. Okay, and I don't know the best way to do this, but next thing you need to do is you need to pull the tire completely off the rim. What I do is I just stick my fingers down in here and start it, and then press the rim out, and then use the wrench if you need to, just to get it going. Once it gets over halfway, it just pops right off the rim. Next thing I did is I went and bought a little baby powder. They suggest that to help things along, and I'll squirt the inside of the tube, and I'll work that extra baby powder around the tube. I'll work it in with my hands just to make sure everything on the inside of the tire is nice and smooth. It's not going to be catching when you're trying to put the insert in. Now that I've got that done, I'll take the insert and I'll just stuff it in the tire. And this, you just got to kind of work around the tire, putting it in. Just like that. When it's in, you're going to see that it's a little bit smaller than the tire, so it'll move around a little bit, but that's okay. That won't be a problem. Next thing you want to do is inspect the liner around the rim. Make sure that the liner lines up for the inner tube hole, and that there's no wrinkles or none of the spoke ends are visible or exposed to the tube, just to make sure that everything goes smoothly when you put the tire back on. You put the first bead of the tire back on. It's pretty simple. You just lay the rim down. Again, try to keep the rotor side up so you don't mess up the rotor. lay it on there, push the bead up into the track, and then just work your way around, pushing the liner and the tire down around the rim. You're not worrying about the top part, just this side of the tire. Just work yourself around. Mostly it's about getting the tire on right now. So just fold the top over and pull. Now that you've got the tire on, I've got the tire completely on. I'm just pushing the insert on. I've got the insert completely on now. Next step is you want to locate your stem hole. Make sure that that interior liner is out of the way of the hole and that the hole's open. Insert the tube next. You want to get the stem. You want to push this into the channel for the tube and then slide it back out through that hole. This can be a little tricky and time consuming. So just take your time, line it up. Now one tip I want to give you is when you do get the stem pulled through the hole, take your valve stem cap and put it back on. This will stop the valve stem from sliding back into the rim. Now that I've got the stem in place, I'm just going to stuff the tube in there. Try not to twist the tube or anything like that. You just want to stuff it in, kind of get it situated. Don't worry about putting the Tannus liner on this side in yet, just get the tube in. Once you get the tube all the way in, you want to lift up this side and check and make sure there's no kinks or twists. Get the tube situated in there nicely. If there's a scrunch section, kind of stretch it apart and get it equally laid out around the tire. You don't want any twists or folds in that inner tube when you inflate it, otherwise you could get a flat. Once you're happy with the way the tube is, the next job is to put the Tannus insert, the red piece, inside the rim. So you lift up the back part of the tire and you fold that in and you stick the red part under the bead and you just work yourself around the entire tire. Now even with the Tannus, the last foot's going to be the hardest. Just push the insert in and slide it under the bead. Once you get that, again, just like the tube, you want to go around and double check and make sure everything's situated in there really nice. No folds, no kinks. And that's how you get the Tannus insert in. Now to put the bead on, the last bead on, you remember we got the tire, the Tannus, the tube, the Tannus. Now we got to put the last bead on. I like to start at the stem side, make sure the stem's coming straight out of the rim, and then I fold that bead down in and I start pressing that all around. I'll use the wrenches, I've got 2 of them here if I need, and I'll stick it in there and I'll slide it, and that helps set that bead. Go around both sides. I'm going to put both of them in here so I don't lose this. I'm going to rotate this around so I can get to this bead. Now everybody's going to tell you this last foot's hard, and it is. That's why I like having the wrenches. So I get around to the last foot, I'll pull it, and I'll just keep working it from both sides. Sometimes I can stand it up and I can fold the tire in to help get that last bead put in. I'm going to lay it down here, use the leverage of the bench to pull that around. And it pops the last bead right in. And that was not an easy thing to do, but with a little bit of perseverance you can get it done. Now one thing I do before I even put any air in it is I'll look for the little line that goes around the tire. And I'll notice it's up here, it's an 1/8 of an inch away from the rim. Over here, it's actually stuffed down into the rim. What I want to do is kind of make sure all the way around the tire that that's pretty similar. And I flip it over and I check both sides to make sure that line is fairly consistent for the bead. Make sure nothing's been popped out. And this is before I put any air in it. Double check this side, and it looks good. So now I'm going to take the tube cap off. And I'm going to put about just 10 pounds in initially. Maybe a touch more. And then I'm going to go around and just kind of work the bead a little bit. Just double check and make sure that that line is even around the rim so that your tire doesn't wobble when you ride. And that looks pretty good. So now I'm just going to go ahead and inflate it. I'm inflating these to about 22 pounds per square inch. And that's it. The Tannus liner is installed with the tube. I didn't have to trim them, so keep that in mind. You might have to, but I didn't. It's a pretty quick and painless process to put at least the front tires in. I haven't tried to take the back tires off yet, so we'll see how that goes. Hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you next time.